Fake black Israelites falsely claim Esau and the Edomites were Caucasian. They also argue that since God hated Esau according to Malachi 1:3 and Romans 9:13, God therefore hates the white race as well. However, there are two major problems with this thesis. First, Esau or the Edomites were not the progenitors of the white race. The Edomites moved to the southern hill country of Judea after the Babylonian destruction of Jerusalem and exile of the Jewish people in 586 BC. Then in 163 BC, these Edomites, who became known as the Idumeans, were subdued under the rule of the Jewish Maccabees, and then again by the Maccabean John Hyrcanus in 125 BC, leading to the Edomites converting to Judaism and becoming distinct members of the Jewish nation, who lived in their own colonies in the southern hill country of Judea. In the 1st century AD, the Edomites joined the Jews in rebellion against Rome and were obliterated, with only a few remaining refugees escaping. This is the actual history of the Edomites, and there is thus no way they were the progenitors of white people today. They got destroyed and then disappeared from history. These facts also refute the fake black Israelite lie proposed by Elisha J. Israel, that the post-exilic Edomites took over the Jews as impostors and were thus the descendants of modern Ashkenazi Jews. That is incorrect. After being conquered by the Maccabeans, they were in discernible separate colonies than the 1st century Jews. This is why the ancient historian Josephus was able to distinguish the Jews from the Edomites when he wrote about 1st century Jewish events. The Edomites did not take over the Jews as impostors. So where do whites come from if not from Esau and his Edomite descendants? There's evidence Noah's son Japheth was instead the progenitor of the white race. Harold Hunt and Russell Grigg wrote an in-depth essay called The 16 Grandsons of Noah, where they demonstrate Japheth is the true ancestor of the whites, not Esau, and Esau came from Noah's son Shem, not Noah's son Japheth. These authors note Japheth's son Gomer had descendants called the Gomerites, who first lived in Galatia and thus became known as the Gauls. These Gomerites or Gauls then migrated to modern-day France and Spain. For a long time, France was therefore called Gaul, named after these Japhethite peoples. Moreover, the Gomerites also migrated to modern-day Wales, which is in southwest Great Britain. We know this because the Welsh language is called Gomerag, and because of ancient traditions that Gomer's descendants came to Britain. Gomer's sons Ashkenaz and Togarmah then populated Germany and Armenia. Indeed, Ashkenaz is the Hebrew word for Germany. What is more, Japheth's son Magog had descendants who populated Romania and Ukraine. We know this because Josephus tells us the Magagites were known as Scythians, and ancient Scythia was located in modern-day Romania and Ukraine. Also, Japheth's son Meshach had descendants who populated modern-day Russia. Meshach indeed means Moscow. Hence, whites do not come from Esau, they come from Japheth. So this idea whites are cursed or devil Edomites is historically inaccurate. Second, although later in scripture God affirms he hated Esau, nevertheless we see earlier evidence in the book of Deuteronomy of God actually giving land to Esau and his progeny, the Edomites, and even helping them defeat their enemies, similar to how God helped Israel militarily and gave them land. This means God did not view Esau as an inherently evil, cursed devil race, as fake black Israelites claim. For example, in Deuteronomy 2:4-5 and 21-22, we read that God gave Esau Mount Seir as their possession, and even helped them defeat the Horites in order to obtain it. You are about to pass through the territory of your brothers, the people of Esau who live in Seir, and they will be afraid of you, so be very careful. Do not contend with them, for I will not give you any of their land, no, not so much as for the sole of the foot to tread on, because I have given Mount Seir to Esau as a possession. The Lord destroyed them, i.e. the Rephaim people, before the Ammonites, and they dispossessed them and settled in their place, as he did for the people of Esau, who live in Seir, when he destroyed the Horites before them, and they dispossessed them and settled in their place, even to this day. So if Esau was an inherently cursed, evil devil race, why did God help them defeat the Horites and give them their land? Moreover, King Saul hired an Edomite named Doeg to be the chief of his herdsmen. Would Saul hire an Edomite to this position if it was known by the Israelites that Edomites were cursed and the devil? Also, although fake black Israelites hate whites and call them Edomites, often cursing at them in the streets, Deuteronomy 23:7 explicitly warns, quote, "You shall not abhor an Edomite, for he is your brother." Hence, this theology of hate fake black Israelites teach against whites is unbiblical.
You ready to kill little Edomite families? Y'all gonna get put to death, man. That's right. You gonna die, you and your little ugly kids.
With all of this evidence against the fake black Israelite theory on Esau, all they are left with is the argument that since Esau was said to be red and hairy in Genesis 25:25, this must mean he was a hairy Caucasian and the progenitor of the white race. However, when Esau is described as red here, the Hebrew word is Admonai. The same word is used in 1 Samuel 16:12 and 17:42 to describe King David's skin complexion. 1 Samuel 17:42, for example, says, "And when the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy, Admonai, and handsome in appearance." The same Hebrew word is used, so if red actually meant Esau was a Caucasian, then David must have been Caucasian too, and thus fake black Israelism is refuted. But the fact is, ruddy does not mean Esau and David were Caucasian. Instead, it simply refers to reddish brown-skinned Middle Eastern people.